Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah, HaKodash. Double honors to the elders and bishops of Great Millstone who teach and will well, and salutations to the beloved prophets and brothers continue to exhort the sheep in these last days, and a mighty shalom to all you hopeful listeners listening in, and to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. The title of this epistle is going to be entitled, Watch Your Mouth. Watch your mouth. Just that simple, right? Watch your mouth. So, one second. So, scripture talks often about when to speak, when not to speak, when to hold your peace, and so on and so forth, and the dangers of what can come out of the mouth, from whence cometh all wars, right? The wars of the heart, the pride of an individual. Some people don't know when to take the low road and humble themselves and walk away from these verbal battles that can escalate when situations are heightened or infused with anger. A lot of things can happen, and sometimes in an instant. But in those very moments, you must know how to gird yourself and guard your mouth, and when to find opportunity, when and when not to speak. So in Matthew chapter 5 and verse 9, it says, Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of the Most High God, Yahweh. So these particular individuals are the ambassadors of the Most High Yahweh, and whom they represent. The peacemakers, they know when to be diplomatic, when to diffuse and how to diffuse situations based on the level of wisdom that is pertained within the Holy Scriptures. This is the only area and place where you need to be fed to get that understanding in wisdom and righteousness, because the wisdom of this world here, it lacks and it falls short almost indefinitely. The state of chaos that we see on the rise of this world is due solely because of the pride of men's heart and the need to be heard. This is the pride of men and the words they speak, and also with women. And when these attacks come, people don't know how to react, but their reaction is to be in the flesh and to be retaliatory and on the defense. But sometimes your defense, you must close up shop and just peacefully walk away. Not every battle needs to be won. Remember that. Not every battle needs to be won. So, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of the Most High Yahweh. Right? Next verse we'll go and grab. It's found in Proverbs. You must guard your mouth and guard your words. It is very important on how to exercise this. You know, you don't want to fly off the handle and say something later on that you're going to regret, and you never know what you might be faced with. None of us. We don't know what we can be faced with, and it's imperative that we learn to bridle our tongue and seek his word while he may be found, so that way we may have the opportunity of another blessed day, right? A lot of people lose their lives because of their mouth, and even less than that. Proverbs chapter 13 and verse 3. Proverbs chapter 13 and verse 3, it says, He that keepeth his mouth keepeth his life, but he that openeth wide his lips shall have destruction. like we were just talking about. You don't always have to express your opinion. You don't always have to have input. Sometimes you can just silently record and listen and go and digest it later on. But in those moments where situations arise, you must learn to refrain from letting loose fiery darts that could potentially offend and hurt someone. Those that may very well be weak in the flesh. Those that are really reactionary and get offended um, easily. You want to use caution with certain people because not everyone is exercising um, prudence and wisdom. You know, there's a lot of temperamental spirits nowadays, especially with the rise of stress and the influx of uncertainty. Be very caution. Now use much caution. Use wisdom, right? Use wisdom because it can preserve you. Discretion will preserve you. Let's go into James. We'll go into the mighty book of James, chapter 3, and read from verse 5 and 6. It says, "Even so, the tongue is a little member, and boasts of great things. Behold, how great a matter a little fire kindleth. And the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. So is the tongue among our members, that it defileth the whole body, and setteth on fire the course of nature, and it is set on fire of hell." The mouth can get you into a world of hurt, especially if you are not practicing discipline. And this doesn't mean that you are becoming somehow less than of yourself, but you are becoming wise and you're growing out of a stage in your life where you're not so reactionary because you lack the understanding and wisdom on how to conduct yourself in certain situations, but you are now growing in meekness and humbleness and exercising wisdom, you know. In order to gain wisdom and understand wisdom and apply wisdom, it's like working out in the gym. It's not something that you can just pick up, practice, and pull out whenever you need it. You have to be able to grow with it and apply it in all areas of your life. So be watchful of your mouth and bridle your tongue, because you never know what spirit or spirits may be surrounding you at that very moment. There is opportunity to speak as well. He says in Ecclesiasticus, the mighty book of Sirach, chapter 4, verses 23 and 24, it says, "And refrain not to speak when there is an occasion to do good, and hide not thy wisdom in her beauty. For by speech wisdom shall be known, and learning by the word of the tongue." So again, there's an appropriate time to exercise your voice, when to speak up, and there's an appropriate way to do that. You don't always have to express your opinions and what you think, but exercise using wisdom that the scripture teaches, that the Most High Yahweh, or Yahweh Shai, is trying to build you up and exercise in, so that way you may be blessed, right? Because he says, "Blessed are the peacemakers," those that are very diplomatic and know how to pacify situations. You know, you don't walk away like, "Yeah, I won that battle. I had have the last word." And no, that's prideful. That's a wicked behavior and a wicked spirit that needs to be cast out from you, right? And you don't want to necessarily be grouped and mixed in with people who have that same spirit, right? Because the pride of life will surely destroy you, and in due time, no less. Let's go into Romans chapter 12. Yeah, it's just exercise, zip in your mouth sometimes. You walk away feeling refreshed, because that's how you win battles sometimes, just keeping your mouth shut. Romans chapter 12, verse 18. It reads, "If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men." Live peaceably with all men, right? If it be possible. Doesn't matter who they are, what they're doing, so on and so forth. Everyone is going to be evidently accountable for the things they say and do in the time that the Most High Yahweh will recompense that judgment. Judgment doesn't come from you. It is not you that needs to go and put out fiery darts, but you can spit on a fire to diffuse a situation. In other words, pacify situations that can be potentially argumentative and contentious that bears no fruit. But you pick your battles. Pick your battles, and not every battle needs to be won. The only battle that needs to be won is yourself. You need to conquer yourself. Conquer that flesh. Put on wisdom, put on righteousness, because he says, remember their latter end. Remember what is to come of those individuals that continue to walk in iniquity and sin. You must separate that mindset from that carnal flesh that continues to latch onto you and say, you need to express yourself. You need to say something. Sometimes you just need to pray. Proverbs 16. Proverbs chapter 16. Where are we at? Proverbs chapter 16 and verse 7. It says, when a man's ways, or a woman, please Yahweh, he make even his enemies to be at peace with him. This is a better path to take, especially with the rise of lawlessness and anger and uncertainty going on in individuals' lives. When you seek the Most High Yahweh while he may be found, and serve him in a manner of where it's pleasing, where you study to be peaceful and to show yourself approved and to build up wisdom and to be occupied in prophecy and in the laws. When your ways please him, he makes even your enemies to be at peace with you. And especially if you're exercising wisdom and applying it, you're going to have much favor, and blessed will you be, because we plead the blood of Hamashiach over our lives. This is what every soul searcher, if you will, should be doing in this time, especially if you're locked into the prophetic timelines and the things to come, because there are those individuals out there that don't even consider the times that we're in. So while you may have the opportunity to exercise wisdom in that gym, getting nice and big, girding up your armor and locking in, you want to be blessed all the way through and through by putting on wisdom, because wisdom pleases the Most High Yahweh. Without wisdom, you will not be anything regarded. This is what the scripture says. Proverbs chapter 12. We'll go on Proverbs chapter 12 and verse 18. Proverbs chapter 12. I'll start at 17. Proverbs chapter 12 and 17 on down. It says, he that speaketh truth showeth forth righteousness, but a false witness deceit. Right? You want to be accounted worthy and be one that is put on the right hand side of the Father, and not the left hand side. He that speaketh truth showeth forth righteousness, but a false witness deceit. Also, when it comes into the context of teaching the scriptures or opening up any understanding for someone, you're going to be accountable for the things that you speak concerning the scriptures. If there's something that's not aligning with the truth, you're teaching something that's off balance, and it could and very well cause others to stumble. Be very cautious of the wisdom that you exercise, right? Teach only in the capacity, if that be your lot, what is applicable to what the gift that was called inside you. Do not go outside of that. That's like putting on extra weight and not being able to lift it. You're going to crush yourself and others. He that speaketh truth showeth forth righteousness, but a false witness deceit. Verse 18. There is that speaketh like the piercings of a sword, but the tongue of the wise is health. Right, so depending on how you exercise wisdom and use caution, you can either bring life to a situation or you can cause death. Proverbs 18:20, he says, death is in the power of the tongue. Or right here, let's go grab it. Proverbs 18:21 says, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. So if your tongue brings forth life, you're going to eat the fruit of that. If your mouth brings forth death, you're going to eat the fruit of that. So back in Proverbs chapter 12 and 19, it says, the lip of the 18, there is that speaketh like the piercings of a sword, but the tongue of the wise is health. Verse 19, the lip of truth shall be established forever, but a lying tongue is but for a moment. Right? So with all that being said, just exercise caution, bridle your tongue, watch your mouth, exercise wisdom, and speak when there's an occasion to do so. But again, walk in wisdom. So with all that being said, Shalom.